And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. Now this is Darth Porg with Doomed Heroes, and he's been a patron for a while. Now he is a dolphin, which means he spends some money, but not a ton of money, just a little bit here and there. And he's been playing for a little over 3 years. Now his hyper focus, like most, has been Sith Empire in Arena. And really what he wants to know is for Territory Wars / Grand Arena, what teams should he be really focused on? And so this is going to kind of take a turn for Gear 13 / Relics. That's what we're going to really talk about today. Now, I'm going to be including any and every event that is coming up, including the General Anakin. So everything I suggest will be recommendations for now and in the future, and I'll tell you why I feel that way. We're going to go through a few of his teams, and I'll tell you which teams that he should be really focused on. So 501st is going to be used in the future. I do believe they're future meta, and they're going to be used for the light side GOTB that's coming out. So 5s, Rex, Ahsoka, and Echo, all 4 really should be taken to Gear 13. Relic Tier 3 minimum, but preferred Relic Tier 5. And the reason is we know future content is always more difficult than past content. So Relic Tier 3 is probably going to be considered minimalistic, and Tier 5 is going to be more like arena level damage. Now, bounty hunters are pretty good. You probably want to finish off Jango Fett, but I would take Bosk to 13. You're 1 piece away, and once you get him to 13, I would recommend at minimum Relic Tier 3, but preferably Relic Tier 5 for ship. Now, General Grievous and Separatist droids are looking pretty good. You've got General Grievous at 4. I do recommend a minimum of Relic Tier 5, but if you can get him to Relic Tier 7 at some point, then I would do so. Also, B1 and B2, I would take to 13. B1, you've got a couple pieces in there, and you've got a ways to go. And for B2, but B1, you've got all 6 pieces missing. I would recommend both of them getting to Gear 13 and then Relic Tier 3. Now, this is going to take a while for you, and I know that that's going to be difficult. Now, Magna Guard and Droideka, if you want to be able to use them in the coming up event for General Anakin, your Droideka has to look like your Magna Guard at a minimum. You're going to have to get the left 3 Gear 12 pieces put in, or you won't make the 17,700 GP minimum that they have. So you're going to have to put 3 pieces on Droideka, and that would probably become your number 1 priority. First Order looks pretty good, but this is a solid team, and you've got some Gear 11, Gear 12s. It's not a bad kind of filler defense team, but your Kylo Ren Gear 9 really obviously needs a ton of development. This guy is an absolute beast. I would take him to Gear 12, make him a priority, and then he's going to feed just a bunch of turn meter to this whole team. Now, Galactic Republic and Jedi and 501st, they all kind of blend together, so we're going to talk about different characters in Galactic Republic, ones that I haven't spoken about yet. And C-3PO and Padme are going to be kind of the 2 coming out of here that I want to talk about. Now, Padme should be Gear 13 and C-3PO should be Gear 13, but at a minimum, your C-3PO has to look like Padme with your Gear 12, the left 3 pieces inserted, or you will not make the GP requirement. So definitely want to focus on those left 3 pieces so you can play in the new event, General Anakin event. But these guys should go up to Relic Tier 3 as a staging point, and you could take them as high as 5, but I don't recommend it. Just level 3, and I think you're going to be all right. Geonosians are fine. You actually can do well here. If you have the ability to take Brood Alpha to 3, which I recommend, then do at least 3. And you could also take Spy to Gear 13 and take him to Relic Tier 3 as well. You don't have to, but I would recommend on all of them doing the furnace that you have on the soldier. This furnace really provides a huge health pool for the entire team. And so if you're going to, participate, that is one of those things I would recommend. You can see over here on the top right of Geonosian Soldier, that furnace. So at a minimum, get furnaces on these guys. It's a lot of work, but focus towards that over time, and you'll develop these Geos into something better. Geo Brood Alpha, though, you should never stop at 2. You should always do 1, or then roll to 3, or then roll to 5. 2 and 4 don't do a whole lot. There's pretty large gains when you hit 3, 5, and 7. And when it comes to ships, you actually don't see any improvement until you hit 3, 5, or 7. So you have to actually get to the next tier. The 2 and the 4 and the 6 don't do anything for ships. So try and think of it like that. Odds are always the best. So if you're stuck on an even, try and get to the next odd. So you're at 2, you should be shooting for 3. Now, for Jedi, there's a bunch I've already talked about for kind of Galactic Republic and whatnot, and I'm happy to see your Anakin in good shape, as well as Kenobi at 5, phenomenal. The 2 others on here I would recommend is Yoda and Shaak Ti. Both of them are important. Now, Shaak Ti, you're going to want to get at least the left 3 Gear 12 pieces, and then Grandmaster Yoda and Jolie Bindo, you're going to want to take to Gear 13 for long term, and this is why you're going to be doing light side GOTB. This will be one of those critical teams you use. You really want Yoda hitting as hard as Anakin, so you have multiple heavy hitters, and you're going to want Jolie Bindo insanely durable so he can make sure that he keeps your team alive. And Jolie Bindo at Gear 13, relic tier 3 minimum, but tier 5 preferred, is crazy over 100,000 health, and Yoda can hit for 100k on his basic when he gets to relic tier 5. So I would recommend out of this that Shaak Ti get a couple more Gear 12 pieces, and that Jolie Bindo and Yoda make their way into your Gear 13 selection. Relic tier 3 minimum, preferably 5 if you can get there. Now, Nightsisters are a funny thing. They're really good at Gear 12, but at Gear 13, they're really crazy. Probably the one thing you really want to develop is your Spirit. She's nuts, and you've got her at Gear 9, so she's kind of like your Kylo Ren in First Order. Those are the 2 Gear 9 characters I would recommend really just pumping a bunch into to get them as high as possible, and get them to Gear 13 if possible. Also, Asajj and Old Daka, those are really the 2 that I would highly recommend. You can do Mother Talzin in Spirit as well to Gear 13, but Asajj and Old Daka, Asajj's damage is crazy in Gear 13, and Old Daka's health is nutty at Gear 13 as well. And when you go into relics, relic tier 3 minimum for Nightsisters, but if you can get Old Daka to 5 or Spirit to 5, you'd be super, super impressed with what they're capable of doing. And lastly is Rebels. There's a lot of Rebels you could really focus on, but the ones that I really recommend is Commander Luke, R2-D2, Chewbacca, and Han Solo, your top 4. And the reason for those 4 is because the damage and ships. Damage between Chewbacca, Han Solo, and Luke go crazy, and then Chewbacca and Han Solo for ships, and then R2-D2 at Gear 13 gets huge boosts, which he can then give to the entire team for health, protection, offense, things like that. And that's huge for this team, especially if you're going to do undersized or whatnot. And I believe this team is going to be a staple team in the new light side GOTB that's coming up in the future. And you're pretty close with R2, Chewbacca, and Han Solo to get to Gear 13, so you'll have to decide. Now, your roster looks really, really well. I'm going to review really quick Gear 13s with the Relic tier so you can remember which one's which. But Relic tier 7, the only suggestion I made was going to be your General Grievous. For Relic tier 5, I really recommend Rex, Echo, and 5s, Yoda, and Jolie if you can get those 5 to Relic tier 5. If not, take them to 3 at a minimum. Now, your Bosk, Luke, Han Solo, Chewie, and R2-D2, same thing. They're amazing at 5, but get them to Relic Tier 3 at a minimum. For Relic Tier 3, you also want B1, B2, C-3PO, Padme, Spy, Asajj, Old Daka, and Spirit to get to Relic Tier 3. And then a couple of characters I would really like to see you get to at least Gear 12 with 3 pieces on them would be Droideka as well as your Kylo Rens. Both of those would really benefit from that extra Gear 12. And Droideka, you have to be able to participate in the new General Anakin event. So Darth Porg, you're doing really well for being kind of a high spender dolphin, low spender whale, primarily a low spender, whale / dolphin. 3 years in, a lot of time, energy, effort, and money invested. You've been pretty focused. Your roster looks really, really well. And because of what I've given you, I know I've given you probably 4 months or more of development on relics, and I get it, but at least you're going to have a forward focus in who you should be taking to Gear 13 and relicking for the future meta as well as future PvE content. As always, if you guys have any questions for Darth Porg or statements, leave them in the comments down below, and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.